Today I'm doing an interesting practice where it's like for the record. I found these old pages of like what I considered I had already done for my, um, it's called a bucket list. And then also like difficult attachments I had. And in doing the work, I realized I have to release my attachments. So I had written these lists of things that I didn't feel I could release yet. I've written lists of things that I thought I was amazing because I had done it. Different things that stuck out for good attachment and bad attachment. And I'm going to be reading now just straight through. It's a number of pages in a row, all in red pen, from these different lists. I compiled it, and I'll be reading it. And this is just for the sake of showing what people do in recovery. For example, at the fourth step, or we release our attachments to what we unlearn, we rethink. Okay. For the record, whether could be like I'm giving myself a chance to die, the old me with all my attachments, and even though I wrote this years ago, accepting and integrating myself in new ways is always happening as life changes me and as I condition myself to grow. Okay, so there's more of a positive spin in the beginning, and then it turns into a little bit more of like the difficult stuff, as it always is. Blue Man Group, Philharmonics, scuba diving, snorkeling, zip lining, my first real job, real paycheck, drove a car, lived upstate for a month as a nanny for Masha, had driver's permit, went to raves. There was a bunny farm, Joey Blunts and Shem Tov Festival, a Desiderata Festival, Balagan Festival, 2,000 shekel being stolen from me in Israel, Danny Gore cuddling and coloring on each other's bodies, Camp Extreme for 3 summers, Jasper, Banff, Edmonton, camped in a trailer park in Washington, California, and Oregon, the beach at night with people, Poconos weekend at a house with Meira, Bonnerdale, Shaney, Rachel Azar, Mendy Cohen, going on a green bus with DB and Boris and Panina. Boris took all the acid and saw the light that never ends. We were in Maryland. I rode on a moped. I went to AA and NA meetings. I paid for a dinner over $100. Went to Mary Poppins on Broadway with S.D. Jacobson. I got kissed by Levi from California or maybe Canada in the hallway after Bugsy poured I think it was vodka, but I'll just say liquor in our throats. Dead Sea with Rachel, Effie, and Leah. Anachnu Yesh Machzor, a song that we have our period in Ramat Beit Shemesh when I was in Israel, and the Makola, and which is a corner store in Ruvain, and a bracelet club, and learning rap, which was communication skills. Dr. Young, Tzippi, the house mother, the Shekheads who ran the school, some of the staff, Eliza, Connie Honeyman, Nicole, Shauna, and Chaya came. My friend Chaya came, Malky came from Brooklyn, Gail, my therapist, Esty and Abigail were counselors, Sam and Khani, and then somebody was stealing, Adina and Meira, Ahuva, Malka, Fermi, Ricky, Mel, night classes, sex education, Marla, the principal, Rabbi Stewart and Rabbi Zahavi, Rabbi Summer, the cooks, Shua Disson and Crack Square, Ben Yehuda, the Shuk, which is the marketplace, Tzvat with Panina and Chaya, and a different cave with Muhammad Jacobson, B'nai Brak, Malka and Kfar Chabad, Herschel, Netanya, Moshav near Beit Shemesh with Malka, Elizabeth Kibbutz Yotvada, Rachel and Yassi came to visit, Chavashena, my cousin and her family at Renana, Tel Aviv, Tiberia, Jerusalem, Old City, Carrie, who gardened with us and had very long hair, Eilat, the gardening class, GD class, thrift store, nutrition, and psychodrama class, Ashkelon. There was these games called Shahid. It sounds a little different when you spell it Shithad. Tournaments, a spades tournament, speaking to Yossi Lowenstein late in the night, getting a massage over $100. The crab people playing from South Park. When I met David and Misha, my friend's brother, and he was looking at me like he wanted to eat me. Naked Man Move pulled on me by Charter. Photo shoots with everyone, makeup artists, models, dressing up, locations, strangers, horseback riding in India and through water in Canada, camping in Picamous, camping at a Fonda festival when I broke my ankle, paintball shooting, gave blood, a camel farm, flew in a helicopter, jet skiing, had surgery, tried octopus, eel, mussel, oyster, snail, frog, crab, lobster, shrimp, squid. Going in a van with 15 people upstate with no seats. For some of the people I remember are Chesky, Nikki, Rachel. Snow tubing, spray painting, graffiti, going on a cruise, elephant riding, touching tigers, petting a leopard, Broadway show with Ronnie and Devorah. Rifki told me that she wanted me to let her into my bubble, talk to her about boys. Upstate weekend with Nate Cohen, Chaya Edelstein, Beryl Hahn, Talia McGann. I was a science experiment participant. It was at Brooklyn College. I got an MRI, I got an EEG, I quit smoking more than once. Got an associate's degree and bachelor's, 2 of them. I tried acid, shrooms, secondhand crack, coke, Xanax, Adderall, Molly, ecstasy, THC, alcohol, hash, opium, painkillers, and more. Volunteered in ketamine. Volunteered in an animal shelter. Mo Brudkin told me I needed to get rid of the hairs on my mustache when I was a teenager. Mayor Clavan and Roman were bad-mouthing me when they thought they were talking to a friend on the phone instead of me. I got arrested 2 times. Eventually I got arrested again years later. But this was when I wrote this. I left my dildo in my sister's bed. I went to central bookings. I once left the precinct. Once I slept in the precinct of the 2 times I'd been arrested. Got in a car accident with Shauna driving. She had lost both her parents, I believe, in a car accident. It was very traumatic. Rachel, my friend, going crazy because on the day she did shrooms, getting whiplash from lefty driving in a large vehicle. Zelda Duchman used to make fun of me online, and I think Rosie Markowitz too, and possibly Devorah Leah Schneerson. They asked me really mean questions. I was cyberbullied, I guess. Getting so drunk on the bus at Sophia, it was so embarrassing. Danny had sex with Devorah. She said, needlepoint, sharp feeling in my arm when in Thailand. And then I got a diseased GI tract, traveler's diarrhea. I remember I masturbated once while my sister was in the room and she didn't know. Devorah said I'm cheap and low and disgusting things about me in Florida because she was distant and selfish when I went with Malky. Sinai saying mean things to me when Devorah was gone and he was being manipulative. A sense of there's an orchestration, although I can't remember when it started. I got kissed by Lady in Bed Goodnight, my brother. The little boys used to say I was CVS because they joked that I would stuff food in my asshole. Rossi Hot said I'm a disgusting eater. Zelda Rosenfeld and maybe Hindi Minkowitz used to make fun of me for having my top shirt button closed tight. In Toronto, they made fun of me and sprayed air freshener nearby because they said there was a smell. In Chicago, they sent me home for stealing items a few days early. I had found the son looking through my stuff. I guess could be they needed the room, but could be also there was deeper layers. In Camp Extreme, they knew that I had lied to them about my age. I had lied when I was 15, I believe. I said I was a year older because I met this girl, Mookie, and she had been left back, and I didn't want her to feel bad. And so, you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I had to lie, keep up that lie with all my friends and people for years, and kept getting caught. So, for example, in Camp Extreme and in Sophia, the passports they were held, and so they knew my age, and it didn't match what was written. And many other times, when I couldn't go into bars and had to lie and this and that. David Amisha said I should roll home. I was so round, he said. I was not. Amy told Jama I liked him. My father didn't let me go into the top area of the bed, like by his top half of his body. He made me go all the way to the bottom, or sometimes at all when I was a kid, but he let my sisters. Once I was scared and slept in a sleeping bag on the floor, and he was really mean. I had accidents on the stairs when I was left out for hours. I was locked out. That was my punishment often when I didn't behave. I hated Shabbat by my father because it was being ridiculed, criticized, being made to wait for hours for everything, and made to feel and be alone. The upstairs neighbor, the Friedmans, used to hear me scream and cry, and they would come down asking, they were elderly, asking if I want to come up. I remember trying to sleep in the tent with a guy humping me in Tiberia, and he came on my body. I didn't let him have sex with me. A friend, I don't know. Avi hitting my head with his penis when I was young, near my building, sitting down. Naftali getting naked in the bed and begging me to fuck. I don't like that word. To copulate, suck, touch him. My father used to call me Esav, the female version of the bad guy in Jewish literature. Of the beginning times, like with the patriarchs. Matt Lenz and waking up in his bed, him saying him giving him that blowjob that he was making me do, and me saying no, and him forcing me to kiss him even on the roof, and then in the rain, and then in his bed, forcing my mouth onto him and taking off my clothes, and I was saying no, and there was white stuff in my mouth after, and I lied, to the doctors that I wasn't sexually active. My father used to carry me upside down to throw me into the bathroom. I remember getting so drunk with Rifki and Joe at the event and making a huge fool of myself. I was locked in the bathroom a lot and once pulled out a sink. There was this omegle.com is how strangers used to talk, and a lot of times they would give me attention if I did talk about sex with them, and I would. And I would say things, and it often did arouse me, but mostly it was for them, so I could get attention. Not sure if I ended up writing to my brother-in-law Avi that he was good looking. I think I did, because I had a crush on him, which for those times for me meant desperately seeking approval or attention or validation. I think I was about 13 years old. My father was never on time. He was always hours late, and we all had to wait. I remember being locked in my room a lot. There was a lock outside the door. I was supposed to go to the Bahamas with friends, and they canceled. I went alone. I once cut myself on a tuna can. I wanted reassurance, but my father didn't care. At one point, more than once, but not for more than a month, I'd be punished in my room with no bulb at night, so it was torturous to be waiting in the dark like that. I remember I couldn't leave the Shabbat table till I ate gefilte fish, chalent, cultural foods, although the chalent was more severely enforced and seemingly repulsive, and I couldn't leave the table till I ate, but I became stubborn, and it would last for a long time. Once the garbage was thrown on my bed because I didn't eat the chalent and instead threw it out. Maishi Blyer telling me my arms are like cause and effect. My mother brought the principal, Mrs. Oldtine, to the house to try to get me to go to school. My mother hired a man named Yisrael Kaplan to hold me down with 2 assistants as a form of therapy, and the assistants were the Sharfsteins. My mom called the police to wake me up in the middle of the night and escort me in handcuffs to the psych ward where I stayed that night. My father came to pick me up. I used to be locked in my room. We didn't have locks outside. I mentioned that, right? I called the police on my mother for making me go to school, not being fed. She says that I did this. I don't remember it exactly. I do remember my mother calling the police on me to go to school around age 6 and to make me behave. I cut my nerve open. I had a therapist named Chavi Bremer who was very difficult for me because she would listen to my mother's agenda of what we needed to talk about, and my mother would inform her of what was wrong with me before I even came in for an appointment and didn't get a chance to be known by her. Dr. Aaron Drucker, a different therapist, my mother told him I had oppositional defiance disorder and gave him, he met me once a week, so he didn't know much, but she would tell him everything with me, and then he would try to approach it. I think he felt sorry for me. I was car sick, and my mother would get me these cold cut sandwiches, and there was Peter the Dragon playing there. A friend, Mayor Clavant, seemed sad that I didn't let him walk me when I had a broken ankle to the bathrooms, to the porta potties, really. I actually didn't trust him to depend on him. I remember upstate when I was 6, we used to go to the bungalow colony, and there was a scary man in the cabin, and I blocked out the memory beyond that. My neighbors used to get very angry about my guinea pig that was left in the hallway for some time. The Betones, I remember throwing poop on their door from the guinea pig, Rafi screaming at them. Sarah Razel telling people that I chased my sister in the staircase of the building, I believe, with a knife. A man from Shomrim or Shmira came to the house on Friday about a Game Boy or a toy and didn't know what to do with me, and he felt really bad for me. The pee detector that my father installed into my underwear when I was at night, because I started wetting the bed again, until I was like almost 8, maybe between 6 and 8, he would often do it, or maybe 7 and 8. Srili Rubenstein, my neighbor, and I got in a fight, and Nachum Kaplan tried to calm me down, and Srili Rubenstein broke my glasses, and I didn't remember if I did that or he did, but my mother says he broke mine. And this is all what I wrote in the past, and the only thing I'd add is that I went to I added something just that came to mind. I went to a coding and encryption class at the Math Museum. So I feel like, this is heavy stuff to read, but not when you're doing the work. This is previous parts of me that are no longer here, and it's like for the record, and it makes it safe to say, wow, I had so much amazing stuff I did, and there's so many negative experiences too, And I'm whole enough to know that there's no one else that has any less good and more bad in their own personal ratio. So thank you for spending time with me, and I wish you well.